of ally, Deputy Minister for Diplomacy in Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu's office, Ambassador Michael Oren. All right, hello, Ambassador. Thank you so much for being here this evening. Can you tell us why Israel was so deeply offended by this resolution?
Good to be with you, Judge. We were hurt, we were outraged by this appalling resolution. Understand, this resolution labels over 500,000 of our citizens criminals, violators of international law. As the Prime Minister Netanyahu said, it takes our holiest places, the Western Wall, and labels them illegally occupied territory. The resolution exposes us to sanctions and boycotts, as Palestinians and others will try to use this resolution as a basis for suing us in international criminal courts around the world. It's a greater threat than the missiles fired at us, because we can believe that. It's a terrible, terrible move. And it sends a horrible message to the world about what America cares about, what the UN cares about. About 2 hours from where I'm sitting and talking to you here, Judge, is Syria, where over 400,000 people have been butchered. 5 hours east of here is Iraq, where tens of thousands of people have been killed in a civil war. 3 hours south of here is the Sinai, where there's a civil war against ISIS. An hour and a half of here is Hamas. And all these millions of people are calling out to America and the UN, help us. And what does America and the UN do? They beat up on the only democracy in the Middle East.
All right, Ambassador.
Think about what America's allies think tonight.
Well, I want to look forward, Ambassador, but for a moment I want to look back. In 2011 or 2012, Susan Rice vetoed on behalf of the United States in the UN the same resolution. What has happened in 4 years, and did you have any notice that this was coming?
Well, I was there when Susan Rice gave that speech. I was listening to it very, very carefully, and she listed all the reasons why the United States, this administration, was against settlements, but they would never let the UN interfere and try to impose a solution, that there was only one solution, and that arose from direct negotiations between Israelis and Palestinians. And by abstaining on this resolution, the Obama administration has basically backtracked and negated its own long-standing position, and a long-standing position of the United States going back to 1967, that there is no alternative to direct talks between Israelis and Arabs. Now, we knew this was going to happen. In the Knesset, where I serve as a member of Israel's parliament, we have been discussing the dangers that were looming in the 3-month window between the American elections and the inauguration of the next president. And President Obama, since the first day in office in 2009, has publicly condemned Israel, our policy in Judea and Samaria, in the West Bank, and in Jerusalem, in our capital. And he was never going to desist from that. He was going to keep on coming at us on that. And we assumed that this window would be a very dangerous time for us.
And it is. But, Ambassador, what can you do about this now? And what can you expect from the Trump administration going forward?
Well, you know about the Iron Dome, Judge.
Yes.
It's an advanced anti-ballistic system that has protected Israel's skies for years now, and it takes down enemy missiles coming at us. We need a diplomatic and a legal Iron Dome, where the United States says to those entities and countries that want to do us harm, that want to boycott us, that want to sanction us, if you touch the state of Israel, you're going to have to come to us, because we're going to protect Israel. We're going to protect Israel by making anybody who hurts Israel pay for it diplomatically, pay for it financially. And frankly, if the incoming Trump administration would move the American embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, that would send a very powerful message that the United States has no intention of conforming with this appalling resolution.
And with respect to those countries, and I want to make one thing clear, had the United States vetoed that in the Security Council, it would not have passed. But the signal has been made. Can America undo the resolution? No, based on a new president.
America can't undo the resolution. It cannot, but it can make those who try to apply the resolution, it can make them pay for it. America has a lot of tools in its hands, Judge. 20% of the UN's budget comes from the United States, and without it, the United Nations would be in very rough shape.
And very quickly, you have high hopes for President Trump and the relationship with Israel?
We do have high hopes. We have high hopes always with the United States of America. At the end of the day, we have no alternative to America as our ultimate ally, and the United States has no alternative to Israel as its ultimate ally. There's no other country in this region which is technologically and military proficient, and no other country which is unreservedly pro-American. No one's burning American flags in the streets of Tel Aviv from where I'm talking to you from.
All right. Ambassador Michael Oren, thank you so much for joining us this evening. All right, and here now with more reaction is the author of Defeating Jihad, Dr. Sebastian Gorka, as well as Fox News contributor Rick Grinnell. All right, Dr. Gorka, I'm going to start with you. The message, as the ambassador just indicated, is very clear, and that is, as 400,000 people die in Syria and the UN Security Council does nothing, they take a disputed land issue, prejudge it, and make it as though an international ruling is in effect and should control. What do you say?
Merry Christmas, Judge. It's outrageous. This is a lame duck presidency. But what's happened in the last 8 years? The Obama administration has created a global chaos. The world is on fire wherever you look, north, south, east and west. Europe, you see Russia invade Ukraine. Asia, you see China build fake islands and then put military installations on them. Then you see disaster after disaster in the Middle East, the rise of ISIS, the rise of Boko Haram, on and on and on. And what do? Instead of following the Hippocratic Oath for the last month of their administration, the do no harm promise, what do? They throw gasoline on the fire, and they side with everybody else who really is using the United Nations to execute a form of veiled anti-Semitism. There's nothing else that you can describe this as.
Well,
go ahead.
Certainly, it is a reverse of a position that the United States has taken in the past, Rick Grinnell. And there are those who say that the United States is the one who was behind the resolution in the first place.
Look, there's no question. I spoke specifically and directly to the French ambassador to the United States, and he told me that they have been working on the Obama administration for weeks. Then we see the media from New Zealand that have now come out and confirmed the fact that the New Zealand foreign minister has had multiple conversations with John Kerry, trying to find the language that would be acceptable so that the United States would abstain. So strategically, Judge, what we're looking at here is this has been weeks in the making. This is a plan of Ben Rhodes and Barack Obama, and they have secretly tried at the end of the administration to give it to Israel and to try to blame this on New Zealand or Egypt or others. Well, they have been the ones negotiating the language. They have been the ones that have been secretly trying to figure out a way, how do they kick Bibi Netanyahu on the way out the door. Don't forget that the Barack Obama team tried to defeat Bibi Netanyahu. This is a long-standing problem that we've had from the Cairo speech at the beginning of the Obama administration to now this lame duck session where Ben Rhodes and Barack Obama are trying to kick Israel.
Dr. Gorka, do you see Donald Trump doing something significant in terms of in any way reversing this decision by the Security Council?
I think the ambassador was right. Formally in international law, this kind of resolution can't be unilaterally undone. But America is the most powerful nation in the world. It is the only nation that can really do something about this by itself in terms of putting pressure on every nation responsible for this resolution. And on top of that, I think after January 20th, Judge, I think the White House will have a very different attitude to the utility of the United Nations and also the importance of Israel, which is one of, if not our most important ally in the Middle East.
And Rick, as it relates to the United Nations and Israel, Israel is now apparently calling in all of the foreign ministers from other countries, and they will exert whatever diplomatic punishments if we can call it that. Do they have any leverage at all in a situation like this?
They do have leverage, and they have a lot of leverage in Donald Trump. Let's make it clear. President-elect Trump is going to be Israel's best ally. He's going to make sure that this is a priority. This resolution is dangerous, Judge, in that it literally encourages countries to find ways to punish Israel for not giving up land to the Palestinians. This is a land dispute between two countries, and now we have an international body like the United Nations Security Council taking sides and saying that the world should punish Israel for not taking the Palestinian side, for not giving up land. It's really outrageous, and it directly affects every single nation. Donald Trump knows this, and he'll make it a priority.
Don't the Palestinians get money for every Israeli that they kill?
Oh, sure. Look, there's a long history of rewarding radical Islamic terrorism around the region. And what we have to make clear, and I think Donald Trump will make clear, is that this is unacceptable. We're going to stand with Israel, and we're going to make sure that every country diplomatically is punished for trying to implement this resolution.
Thanks so much for being with us tonight. Ed, coming up right here on Hannity.
If I had run again and articulated it, I think I could have mobilized a majority of the American people to rally behind it.